If you make yourself more than just a man, if you devote yourself to an idea, and if they can't stop you, then you become something else entirely. Legend.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mildra, and I will be your gaming monk for the evening. Science fiction and fantasy aren't supposed to mix. Until they do, and then everyone acts like they're peanut butter and chocolate. Of course, if you look at the history of science fiction, the majority aren't the hard science that people think it is when they espouse realism. I could go into that subject for days, but the point is the idea of science fiction being less than realistic is more common than people think. Given how there's whole generations of geeks who are fans of SF and or fantasy, mixing the two is a matter of course, and it's been done plenty of times. Today being no exception with our entry, Carbine Jungle. A far future world where fantastical forms of magic, technomagic, and all the trappings of space opera exist alongside each other. For me, this review is a long time coming, as its lead developer, Chance of NorCal Mythos, was the first proper interview I did, something that 6 years ago I never thought I'd be able to do. In a way, this is me coming full circle. Now, in the interest of disclosure, I do have to note that I've had my back and forth with him over years, and I did back Lockdown during its run on Kickstarter. As always, that won't play a factor into my assessment. With that said, how does the wide world of Carbine Jungle and the Triforge engine as a whole hold up within the hallowed halls of my temple? Let's find out. Carbine Jungle runs at 271 pages in a mostly two-column format. There's some pages that are exceptions, like those pages that will use charts, and the text is pretty readable, and I don't have any eye or strain issues like I have with some other games. What I will note is that the art is kind of all over the place, going from 2D to 3D and back again throughout the text. Some of the 3D art might look like CG art, and that was a thing in the early 2000s, but it's a very your mileage may vary kind of thing. I don't mind it, but it does mean the visual identity of Carbine Jungle is all over the place. Some of that is to be expected with a science fantasy space opera, but I feel I had to note it. Still, the book is well organized with both bookmarks and an index, so both of those boxes are checked. However, the bookmarks could have been a little more detailed with sections of chapters instead of just chapters. What balances this out is the fact that the book has lots of hyperlinks throughout its pages, especially when things are referenced. Presentation-wise, it's doing right where it counts, but the art style might bug some people. Character creation is a 7-step process, and we'll be exploring that once again with Aldine. Technically it's 8, but the first is character concept, which would be redundant, though I will note I appreciate there's a few sample concepts to draw upon for those who are having issues coming up with one. Now moving past that, the first step is species, which grants your basic health, bonus attributes, and the potential attack option. The available species are Human, Dweller, Elmen, Kodama, Konoloa, Feychild, Renge, and of course Hybrid for those who wish to be a mix between two races. Now in our case we'll go with Human, which grants us a few benefits. For starters, a health die of 1d6, plus 1 to 3 attributes, plus 1 to discipline and stamina, an extra 250 in credits, and the Human attack option. Now step 3, technically, is Power Source. This is a broad categorization of the different character types. One could consider this as analogous to the difference between an arcane caster, a divine caster, a psychic, and someone who uses. There are 4 power sources in Carbine Jungle: martial, primal, quantum channeling, and tech. We're going to go with quantum channeling in our case. And each power source has their own rules for how they work, but I'll get into that later. Step 4 is archetype, which is a more refined starting package based on one's choice of power source. Of the 3 available, we'll take Aegis, a reality-bending combatant that can force opponents to miss or directly target them. Step 5 is the character's attributes, which are generated by rolling 2d4, 3d6, and 3d8. After the results, the lowest number is dropped. The remaining numbers are applied to the core attributes. Now after making our roll and dropping the lowest, we have the following starting attributes: Physicality 7, Endurance 8, Finesse 6, Intellect 5, Awareness 4, Will 8, and Resolve 4. We'll apply our species bonus to Resolve, Awareness, and Finesse, bringing those up to 5, 5, and 7, respectively. Step 6 is Skills, which operate on a trained or untrained affair. Skills are tied to either an attribute or a power source, in both cases referred to as a block, with 3 sub-skills. Now in our case, we'll go with Quantum Channeling for a block and the Endurance skill block. In addition, we have access to the Resolve skill block, which also aids in generating Determination, a resource that determines how many times you can fail a given skill roll. The difference between having or not having a skill trained is that the former adds a bonus equal to twice your tier, while the latter is just the relevant attribute. Now, step 7 is backgrounds, which I guess you could liken to feats. There's quite a few backgrounds, but each archetype provides not only a list of suggestions, but also a list of potential builds one can go with. All characters start with 3 backgrounds, and in our case we'll go with Toughness, Weapon Focus, and Amplified Mark of Aegis. Lastly, equipment. In this case we'll go with a standard shaped singularity, a heavy energy shield, a flak jacket, and an adventurer's kit. Character creation is not necessarily the big issue. There's plenty of options available. No, the bigger issue is the character sheet itself, as there's a lot of fluff entries that I feel eat away at the space you may need long term. There's a lot of advantages and options you're getting from your power source and archetype before you even factor in background. Some more space for that stuff long term would certainly be a boon. Character sheet design issues aside, I also understand why these stat caps are present in this chapter, but I feel like there was a missed opportunity to use those pools in other ways. That's nitpicking though, and most of character creation holds up. There's just a few little tweaks I'd take personally. Carbine Jungle uses a d20 based affair, which works in the way you'd think. Roll a d20 versus a target number, natural 20s and 1s are criticals and botches respectively, you get the idea. This number is of course compared to a static value, be it a target's defense or the skill complexity of an action when using a skill. As mentioned previously, skill rolls have an associated resource form of determination, which is reduced by failed rolls. I appreciate the idea, but instead of wording it as lose 1 determination when failing a roll, I'd rather present it as expend 1 determination to re-roll a failed roll. Same result, just a bit less punishing in terms of work. Shifting back to combat, this is where things stand out in the economy of action. As each character has 1 main action and 2 support actions, some archetypes grant non-turn actions divided between interventions and retaliations, i.e. if it's resolved before or after the triggering action. I'd also like to make special mention of the game genres and associated systems on Chapter 10. I've talked in the past about games that boast about being able to do anything, but don't give much guidance on certain genres. Carbine Jungle does this with several genres, with their own examples and ways to use the sandbox to reinforce that feel. That's a smart move to help ease people into this weird and wonderful world. Additionally, I appreciate the fact that there's suggested ranges when it comes to customizing NPCs in a way that's similar to a challenge rating, but without falling into that same 4 balanced characters assumption that challenge rating has. Lastly, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Rules Light variant of the Triforge engine known as Flip and Fight. This eschews the customization-heavy trappings of the main system and instead goes for a simpler affair built around a playing card resolution, but a d12 if you're that much of a dice goblin / purist. In this system, most powers amount to a card draw with a positive or negative modifier on certain actions, ranging from +2 to -2 in a way similar to column shifts in the action control table seen in games like Marvel Phase Rip. It's a very simple system, but thankfully it's convertible with the full rules. However, since this is a game that blends fantasy with SF, I feel I should talk about the magic systems. So let me slide into the ritual system, as it were. Rituals are Carbine Jungle's equivalent to spells, and while anyone can get them in theory, in practice some archetypes are going to use them more than others. For starters, rituals are separated into the old ways, which can be used by mystics, and quantum channeling, which is often used by luminaries. Furthermore, the former has to have the rituals prepared in advance, while the latter has a more spontaneous use. While this may seem like it veers a little close to the more litigious fantasy RPG Vancian model, it's not really as present in practice because there isn't spell slots per spell level, but rather just a unified spell slot setup. However, there is an action cost to maintain since it takes either action types or a time to cast a ritual, as well as 1 support action to maintain it. Most casting archetypes will gain additional support actions beyond the ones gained across the tier for the sole purpose of maintaining spells. That said, you can upcharge a ritual by spending additional support actions. Further separating this from the Vancian model is the fact that you do have to roll to use your rituals. It's not a fire and forget affair. As I said, it's not entirely the Vancian model, but there's just enough there to make me think of it, and I'm not sure if that model really fits narratively in the world that Carbine Jungle presents. I think a drain-based affair might have been a better approach, since that provides an easier incentive to cast more as the base level of a spell. However, I have my own biases. Not to get off on a tangent, but I've always had the issue of creating a narrative link when it comes to the spell slots in the Vancian model. It's decent for what it is, I just have issues with it leaning into spells per day when so much of the game's design leans so much into a power fantasy. But before I wrap up things here, I want to talk about a sister project to Carbine Jungle, and get a bit into the weeb end of things. Let's talk about Lockdown. Lockdown was a setting expansion to Carbine Jungle, but it can suffice as its own game. Now this was split into two books, a survival guide and a game master's guide. The core rules are maintained, but the big change is choices of races and archetypes. Instead of multiple power sources which grant their own benefit, Lockdown has only one presented. However, the features seen in power sources do incarnate in the form of society domains, a concept that was present in Carbine Jungle just shifted into a new form akin to factions. Furthermore, archetypes do not gain all their features at once. Instead, they gain a starting package and opt for a milestone-based system for future abilities. The features gained from domains work similarly in having milestones. Key abilities operate like rituals, but instead of doing a per-day affair, it leans more into spell points in the form of, well, ki. This is a charging up resource that starts at 0 and is capped based on the archetype and tier used. While key abilities fall into either key attacks, soul words, or spirit songs, access to these are based on your archetype, with potential key forms and attacks being determined by your choice of people, i.e. race. There's a lot to like with Lockdown, but I could see an issue with crossover. It's in a bit of a gray area whether it's better as a standalone game or an expansion to Carbine Jungle, but that's a per-table thing. Carbine Jungle has a lot of options, but what I appreciate beyond the sense of customization is the efforts made to allow for simple options in short or long term. Analysis paralysis will always be a thing in TTRPGs, but I appreciate the fact that the effort was made to minimize it for first-timers. Being D20 based means it'll be familiar to some, just with the means to customize instead of the just reskin it attitude that treats homebrewing like a bandage in some games. That said, there's a couple points that I do think the Triforge engine falls short. For starters, I find it odd that a fantasy space opera game doesn't have much in the way of travel rules or vehicular combat. A couple things that would be key to the, well, fantasy. Secondly, as I mentioned before, I'm unsure if the spells per day approach really fits this kind of game. Does it bug me as much as the Vancian model? No, but that doesn't mean it doesn't bug me. I simply don't see a narrative reason for it beyond being a familiar. I kind of feel validated in this given the key points used in Lockdown, especially since the possibilities of rituals is expanded in the form of. Well, speaking of Lockdown, I find that the little changes it does make it a step up from Carbine Jungle, especially the milestone system of gaining features from domain and archetypes. The fact that key attacks and forms are linked to the peoples within the setting could be a point of contention, but I think that helps give a bigger weight to your choice in that part of the process, as choice of race in a lot of games is something that matters in the short term, but not as much in the long, at least in a lot of the bigger entries, I will note. All in all, I'd give both a stamp of recommended, but I will note this came dangerously close to strongly recommended. The only thing holding it back are the lack of elements in some places, and the issue of synergy between Lockdown and Carbine Jungle. I still think it's a worthwhile game with a lot of potential, but I think that if I were to run it, I'd have to do some house ruling to fix a few errors. Could I see this being used as a more setting-agnostic affair, i.e. using the Triforge engine without the Renown Galaxy campaign setting? That'd be a bit tricky, as the archetypes and races are a bit tied to that setting. Not impossible, but still tricky. All that said, the Triforge engine games are very solid affairs, though between the two you're more likely to see me recommend Lockdown slightly above Carbine Jungle for the impact of its slight changes I've mentioned already.